Hey guys, it's Ashley. Welcome back to my channel. As you can see by the title of today's video, today we are finally discussing the Rob Zombie Halloween films. So, Rob Zombie's Halloween from 2007 and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 from 2009. I know that at one point I kind of said that I would never really cover the Rob Zombie Halloween films. However, since we've finished covering End, it doesn't really feel right that I've skipped over these two films. I personally view them as completely disconnected from the rest of the franchise. I mean, they are, but they are still a part of the Halloween franchise. They exist. So I figured I would at least review them for you guys. If nothing else, just to say that I've covered literally every film in the Halloween franchise in some way. Also, because I plan on doing a ranking video next, like I said, I just want to make sure I covered each of the films in the franchise before I do that ranking video. I mean, it's only fair, so yeah, this is not going to be a commentary, it's just going to be kind of a two-in-one review type deal. Gonna go through what I like about the films, what I don't like, and yeah, so let's just get into it, shall we? Well, before I start, I just want to make it clear that I have rewatched both of these films recently so that I can have a current, clear understanding what I truly think about these films, because it's been a really long time since I've watched Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 at least. I am quite familiar with Rob Zombie's Halloween, but I wanted to make sure I wasn't just going off from what my opinions were years ago. Although I will say, none of my opinions have changed on these two films. So, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2007. I remember pretty vividly when this film came out. I was in middle school, but I remember the first time I actually watched it. My mom had gotten me the DVD for Christmas. This was the year that it was released, and I remember watching it with her on Christmas night, and this was the director's cut DVD. And it was uncomfortable, to say the least. But I'll just say, overall, I think this movie is fine. I'll start with the positives. So the positives, the cast. The cast is pretty great. I think everybody does a good job at portraying their character, making their characters feel new and fresh and updated from the original characters. Scout Taylor Compton is a perfect example of this as Laurie. She has those qualities that the original Laurie had. She's likable, she feels grounded and more down to earth. And of course she's much more aware of what's going on around her than her friends are. I just think she's really believable in that role. Danielle Harris, of course, from parts 4 and 5. She plays Annie. She's also really good as Annie. I actually think Sherry Moon Zombie does a really good job as Michael's mom. Malcolm McDowell is interesting. Definitely a different type of Loomis. That's not to say that it was bad or anything, although his performance for me has always been just a little bit off-putting just because it is so different. But overall, I think he does a good job. Here we got Brad Dourif as Sheriff Brackett. I mean, overall, Rob Zombie always casts really amazing actors in all of his films, not just this one, but like literally in every single Rob Zombie film, he has these great veteran actors that are just so good at portraying sometimes just really terrible people. Other positives, the cinematography is pretty good. I love the look of this film when it's daytime. I really love the fall atmosphere. I do have to say though, I think the cinematography gets way too freaking shaky at certain points of the film, especially during some of the kill scenes. I understand that energy that they're trying to go for, and I think it can work in some instances, but overall, I think it's just a little bit too shaky for my personal taste. Just, it gets hard to focus on what's happening sometimes, which isn't a good thing. So let's talk about some other things about this film. I feel like it's kind of unfair to just completely compare this to the original 78 because they're just from two completely different minds and completely different worlds. But I think most people would agree that the thing that made Michael just so scary was the fact that he was just this seemingly normal kid who one day snapped for no apparent reason. There was no backstory, really. We get a lot of backstory, as you know, in Rob Zombie's Halloween. I know for a lot of people can just completely take away the mystique of this character, and I agree. But yeah, the first part of this film follows Michael as a kid and his messed up household, Messed up is an understatement, actually. He kills his pet rat, he's killing cats, he's bullied, has the absolute worst stepdad, all the signs are there. And it's definitely intriguing, but at the end of the day, it's like, do we really need to be seeing all of this? Like, I can appreciate the backstory, but I don't need it. And I don't want it, you know? And I just need to say that the actor who plays young Michael, he does a great job. Like, there's nothing wrong with that performance at all. I just don't need to see that much of young Michael Myers. But yeah, that breakfast scene at the beginning of the film is actually so oddly both upsetting and hilarious at the same time. Which I guess brings me to my next negative, which is the writing.
I will crawl over there and I will the shit out of you.
Oh, I'll get the crutches for you.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's so aggressive and crude that it's actually really funny and quotable in a weird way. Like, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I'll just be in the line at a grocery store and I'll just randomly quote to myself, take that damn thing off. But yeah, just overall, I'm not the biggest fan of the dialogue in this film. I mean, of course there are some lines that are taken directly from the original, which of course those are fine. But like, even when Laurie and her friends are walking home from school, I mean, I know the dialogue was nothing groundbreaking in the original, and I know times have changed, and this interaction was more reflective of how teens spoke currently, but damn, that's not good. And since I specifically watched the director's cut of this film, I'll just mention it. And I know all of you guys know already, but there's a very unnecessary scene, and I just struggle to understand. I'll just say, sometimes it's much better to just imply certain things and not show it in such graphic detail. But we are watching a Rob Zombie film. So, also let's talk about Michael himself, adult Michael. So I have issues with how Michael looks, and to just put it simply, he is way too freaking big. Like, this is a big dude. Definitely the biggest and most physically intimidating Myers in the franchise. And because I already know people are gonna comment, of course he's intimidating. Of course, if I encountered this man in real life, he'd squash me like a freaking bug. And I know I'm comparing it to the original again, but I just can't help it. Nick Castle as the Shape was so perfect because he was so scary and he wasn't a big guy, and yet he still seemed to have so much strength and he moved around like liquid. There was something that was just so much more terrifying and mysterious about that quality to him, that he didn't have to be big. And although the mask is good in Rob Zombie's Halloween, he's just too big. And I don't like it. It feels like Jason Voorhees. Nothing against Jason, of course. Love Jason, but I just don't like a large Michael Myers. As for the kills, of course, they're absolutely brutal. There's pretty much no subtlety, completely opposite from the original, which is fine, I guess. Obviously, I'm not against gore. I love gore. I love blood and guts. I don't think that all Halloween films need to be pretty much bloodless just because the original was. I really like a lot of the kills in this film. I remember when young Michael kills the bully in the woods. I remember that like really disturbing me as a kid. It just felt really real and raw and disturbing. Maybe it's because it's kids killing kids, but I don't know. I just really dig that scene. Of course, when he kills his family, all those kills are really good. When he kills Dee Wallace and that whole sequence, it's just really great. I will say Bob's death in this, not really a fan. Bob's death in the original is my favorite kill in the whole franchise. I've said it several times. I love everything about it. I love the build up to it, the cinematography, the lighting, the music, head tilt, it's perfect. And it's pretty much bloodless. Bob's death in this film, soulless. I know that sounds harsh, but it has no impact, like, at all. Now, the homage to Bob's death in Halloween Ends, now that was superb, I thought. But overall, the kills in this they're pretty good. What else do I want to bring up? Oh, the ending. So the whole ending chase scene with Laurie, it's okay. I think it drags on for way too long. It's like, how many times can we fall through a wall or a ceiling? Like, let's just please end this. But yeah, overall, I enjoy watching this film. I do think it's pretty entertaining from start to finish. I mean, I think it's completely unnecessary, and it's definitely not at the top of my list or anything, but I do find it entertaining enough. So I knew at some point the day would come where I'd have to talk about Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. And I know I said before that I like to keep it pretty positive when talking about films on my channel, because I truly believe whether you like it or not, whether it's your taste or not, it's somebody's art, and a lot of people came together to create this piece of art. Well, forgive me, because this is not going to be this is not going to be positive, like, at all. So if this happens to be your favorite movie and you don't like people talking negatively about your favorite movie, maybe shut this off. So to start off, I don't even think Rob Zombie wanted to direct this sequel. I mean, I didn't do a lot of research on this because screw this movie, I don't care enough to do research on this movie. But I feel like I heard that somewhere, like he only chose to direct this to get out of a 3-movie deal that he didn't want to do, something like that. Again, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'll just start at the beginning with this film, because that's the part of the film that I often hear people praise the most. It's a dream sequence, first and foremost. Picks up right where the last one left off, with Laurie shooting Michael. Actually, never mind that hospital sequence. Before that, we get this riveting sequence of these 2 paramedics who are transporting Michael, talking about a dead girl in extreme close-ups. And this movie is not even 7 minutes in, and it's already giving me stomach cramps. Then they hit a cow, and the one guy says like 137 times, and then Michael wakes up and finishes him off. Michael then sees his dead mom and a white horse. Ah, the white horse. Rob, this is not Twin Peaks, and you are not David Lynch, and you could never be. Anyways, the movie's attempt at a sloppy Halloween 2 1981 remake happens, with Michael chasing Laurie around the hospital, and it's just unnecessarily gratuitous and devoid of tension and doesn't feel like a Halloween movie at all, which is actually remarkably accurate foreshadowing of what I think of the rest of the film too. Also, quick note, Michael grunts loudly when he kills in this one. It gets on my last nerve. Like, why would you make him grunt? It's like you may as well have just made him talk. Oh wait, okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. So we're kind of reintroduced to Laurie and Annie, who survived. It's 2 years later, and I can't even comprehend or begin to explain what the hell Rob Zombie did to the character of Laurie. And before you say it, I've heard it, okay? I've heard people praise this film for its representation of trauma. I'm sorry, but no. Laurie in H2O was a good representation of trauma. Laurie in 2018 was an amazing representation of trauma. Excuse me. A much more believable representation of trauma. And yes, I know trauma can look different for everyone. I know. But this Laurie is the most insufferable piece of shit. And once she finds out she's Michael Myers' sister, it gets even worse. I don't even care if it's realistic or not. Like, this is our final girl? This is the Laurie that we're supposed to be siding with after everything?
Give me some f***ing prescription! I want my prescription!
I'm so sorry you're going through this.
You know what? F*** you and this!
So we have that. Now Loomis. Oh my god, Loomis. So Loomis is now this super pompous asshole who has gained all this fame from the book he's published about Michael Myers, and this isn't the actor's fault. Like, it's not Scout Taylor Compton's fault or Malcolm McDowell's fault. It is 100% the fault of the writing. But again, what they did to Loomis, he's not even the same person. It's almost laughable when he's on screen. Now, Michael Myers himself. Here's where I'm gonna get a little spicy. So people complain so much about Michael Myers in Halloween Ends, and people say Michael Myers was disrespected in Ends. To me, this is the film that disrespects the essence of Michael Myers. This is not Michael Myers. It is just some big, burly hobo stumbling around the fucking woods, no mask, no mystery, no nothing. I mean, technically he has like half the mask on in some points, but whatever, he looks freaking ridiculous. He's plagued by these weird visions of his dead mom again and again, the white horse. It's basically a music video at this point with this insane imagery that means nothing and has no business ever being in a Halloween film. Also, what the hell is this? So yeah, the bulk of this film is just Laurie being insufferable, Loomis being insufferable, and some freaking hobo walking around who we're supposed to believe is Michael Myers. So, positives? I don't know. Are there any positives to this film? I mean, Danielle Harris and Brad Dourif, they're fine. I will agree with everyone. They ground the movie a little bit, which I think is completely needed. I mean, they're literally the only two characters in the film who aren't complete pieces of shit. But they don't save the film. They can't do that. They're secondary characters, which is a shame because our main characters are all ruined. Another positive, I guess, some of the kills are cool. I mean, I love the head stomp. And when he killed that woman in the strip club by repeatedly hitting her face against the glass, that was pretty good. But you see, like, even that, it goes on for way too long. It's like Rob Zombie doesn't know when to just stop. He has no awareness of that. And I just have to talk about the ending of this film really quick. So somehow we get to the shack. Michael has Laurie there. Loomis is there. Dead Mama Myers is there. Little boy Michael is there. Cops are surrounding the place. Michael grabs Loomis. Everything has led up to this moment. And then this happens.
Michael, for God in heaven, die! Oh!
Like, it actually makes me feel sick. Like, somebody thought it was a good idea to have Michael Myers speak. Oh, and then Michael gets shot a bunch of times in this really crappy, choppy slow motion that is used way too much throughout this whole movie, and then Laurie is shot. This is not my Laurie Strode. This is not my Loomis. And this is not my Michael Myers. That's for damn sure. Now, I know I said in my Halloween Ends commentary, if you watch that I admire what David Gordon Green did with that film. I said that it was just really admirable that somebody would make this movie, even though it wasn't what people were expecting, but that they just believed in the story so much and believed in this vision that they just did it anyway because they believed in it so much that I just found that really admirable. And I will say, Rob Zombie has this really special uniqueness to his films, and I do admire that, but this film is not an example of that. It's not admirable. And I like Rob Zombie. I've always liked his music. I used to be obsessed with The Devil's Rejects and House of a Thousand Corpses in middle school. Like, I loved those films. I really do admire and respect his creative vision and uniqueness as a filmmaker. He was not right for this franchise. I'll just say it, he wasn't right. I think that he would have made a great Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, like the remake from 2003, I think. That feels like it could be a Rob Zombie movie. He just doesn't understand subtleties, which is fine if he's making something like that's completely his own and he's not trying to remake something that's already been made, something that's just already so specific and so not his style. He just wants to take everything to the extreme, to the point where it's like I'm watching a film made by someone who just doesn't care at all about this franchise and what makes this franchise so great. Just felt like he didn't care at all about the audience either. This movie is actually soulless and I hate it. I don't like saying the word hate. I don't use that word lightly, but I hate this film. I hate it. This is not a Halloween film. Sorry if that upsets you that I say that. I don't care. This is not a Halloween film. I do want to say though, with all that being said, if you love this film, then that's great. I'm happy for you. I wish I could like it. I obviously would never want to hate anything this bad. I just have to honestly admit, this Halloween universe that Rob Zombie created is not one that I want anything to do with. There really isn't anything positive about Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 in my opinion. And I look forward to never having to watch it again. Because guess what? I have the freedom to do that if I don't like a film. I don't have to go to someone else's review of this film who might love it and tear them down for loving it just because it's not my thing. And I'm sure as hell not gonna go to Rob Zombie's Instagram and tell him to go kill himself for making a movie that I didn't like, because that's not what normal human beings do. Okay guys, those were my reviews of the Rob Zombie Halloween films. I've done it, I've covered them. It's over. Now my next video will be me ranking the entire Halloween franchise. I'm waiting to do that video for so long. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think about Rob Zombie's Halloween and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and I'll see you in my next video.